Well, I am excited about this discussion item. It's a discussion item for an indoor recreation space needs presentation. And I know Councilmember Troxel is passionate about recreation, as her family was heavily involved, especially your dad, in Brigham City with recreation, as well as probably all of us that are up here on the dais at some point in our individual towns and growing up. So we'll turn the time over to Mr. Oyler and Mr. Horsley to make this presentation.
Okay, thank you, Mayor. As Chris is getting plugged in there, I'm just going to quickly.
But we did meet at the park.
Everything went blank. What happened? Oh, make sure it works. So we've got a PowerPoint ready today to talk about a couple slides. Chris is going to start the presentation, and then the last 2 or 3 slides I will take. So once it is up there, we'll get started. Oh, there it goes. Go ahead, Chris.
All right. I think you can hear me now. All right. Well, Council, it's a pleasure to be back before you. Just want to extend a thank you for all that you guys do in support of our Park and Rec operations and the resources that you give us to continue to operate and serve the community. So the information that I'm here to share with you is information that tells a story that justifies a need that is essential for our division to continue to offer a level of service that makes Brigham City a great place and makes Brigham City a healthy place through providing services to our community. So it's a 20-year summary of gym use, indoor program participation, and then some program constraints and perceived opportunities that I'm going to share with you. So this first graph is a 20-year snapshot of our gym hours that we rent from our community partners. I'm not going to go year by year. I'm just going to point out some highlights. So I have 3 different 5-year average segments. And you can tell that the 2013 to 2017 was our greatest yearly average, where we were over 900 hours a year that we were using gym space through community partners. But as you can see, the last 5 years, that averages have dipped down to 387 hours. So one thing that I want to make clear is that this isn't a poke or a jab at our community partners. We have a great relationship with them and have had for years. Unfortunately, they have priorities because their own programs and services and stewardship has grown or whatnot. And so as a result, we don't have as much access. But I just want to make sure that's clear that it's not a poke at them for doing anything wrong. This next graph shows our participation of our indoor program. So basketball, volleyball, and indoor pickleball. Again, there's a lot of information up there. I'm just going to focus on the 2 circles. So you can see that there's kind of a maintaining and healthy participation. Just participation that is pretty healthy and maintains in that green circle. But when you contrast that with the last 5 years, you can see that there is a pattern of decline. And it's correlated with, not being able to have access to as much gym space as we had in prior years. This is just a snapshot that shows our participants by grade, as well as adults there in blue. In all, again, it's just another representation that shows that our participation has declined. And part of that is because of that displacement or lack of access to gym spaces that's had a negative impact on the programs and the service level that we're able to provide. And then this slide is an illustration of our participation to population ratio in terms of level of service. So you can see that kind of every 5 years, we were started back at 5%, grew to 7%, and then started to come back down. But what is more important is seeing that percentage drop from one year to the next in 2004 to 2025. Just because, again, a lack of access with programs that have dissolved or had to be canceled. And then that scenario A and B, what that represents is I was able to find what the projected population of Brigham City in 2030 is supposed to be 21,300 according to this one source. So if we maintained a 3% level of service of participants to population ratio, we'd be serving 637 participants with these same indoor programs, which is a little bit smaller number by just about 20 people than our current service level. So in other words, what we're saying is, does Brigham City want to be the city that in 3 years from now, where we've continued to see growth, that we're still serving less participants because we just don't have the space to offer it? On the contrary, scenario A would be, if we are able to hit 7% of that projected growth, then our rate or our number of participants in these indoor programs would be anticipated to be 1,486, which is back up to those years like 2014 when we were seeing that much participation. So, how has it affected? That's some of the data, but how has it specifically affected us with, needing space? So some of the displacements that we're seeing are practice times, training times for staff, our actual draft nights for our basketball leagues, as well as games. In some ways, we've had to double stack, a training with a draft night or a practice with training, which means we have less time to train staff. It could be a lack of confidence now in our staff because they're not fully knowledgeable or they don't fully feel confident to go out and do their job because we just had to reduce the amount of time that we've been able to spend with them. And we know that one of those byproducts is a decreased quality in the experience for the participants. If we're not given good training to our staff, then we're going to see that with our program quality possibly. And then some of the specific discontinued programs that we've had in our basketball category, we've had to quit doing adult basketball for both men's and women's. In our prime, we had a winter men's basketball league and a spring men's basketball league, as well as a women's basketball league. In volleyball, we had a fall women's volleyball league and a really robust spring co-ed volleyball league, as well as youth volleyball. And then pickleball, we had an indoor pickleball program that we had when we had more access to indoor space. So those are just some of the real displacements and discontinued programs that we've suffered. So again, that establishes this idea that we, well, not an idea, but just a fact that we need more gym space. In order for us to reestablish some of the discontinued programs, we need access to facilities that we can do this, as well as an opportunity to grow with our community as it grows, with some additional programs. So these are just some ideas of things that we could do and foresee doing with more access. Street hockey, even though it says street hockey, it is a program that you can do indoors in the wintertime and outdoors in the off season or summertime. Indoor soccer, having tournaments for volleyball, basketball, even wrestling, tournaments. Having summer camps that are sport based in terms of basketball, volleyball. We could not only look at doing those in house, but also tap into companies that go around and offer maybe even higher level camps that need that space, that we could offer that space to them. To then simple, programs, things like dodgeball. The important things to consider is the availability, consistency, and the reliability. We saw that when we had a lot of hours, we were consistent. We were reliable, and we had the available space. When you think about a customer, there's probably been times where you have your go-to store for a service or a product. The first time you go in there and they don't have it, you might think, oh, no big deal, I'll come back again another time. Come back second time, they don't have it. Some of you might be like, oh, no big deal, I'll come back again. Others might be like, oh, maybe I need to start to reconsider. But if you come back a third time and it's not there, you're probably no longer going to have that as your first place to go to when you need it. And, so it is with us and our programs to our community. If we don't have the accessibility to offer these on a consistent year in, year out basis, then it's hard to offer that level of service that meets the community needs and helps us maintain a healthy community. So a growing community and a healthy community can be built upon having available, consistent, and reliable gym space. Another reason of why that is needed for us is the community level is let's just talk about travel ball and competitive leagues. They have a place, and some people might think that, they're taking over rec sports, and so, what does it matter because you have those outlets to go to. But just one reason from a financial perspective of why community recreation is important is just the price points. These are just 3 examples of different travel or competitive alternatives in the basketball world. And those price points are built on rosters between 6 to 8 players. And when you compare that with the price that we charge for our basketball league, you can see that our community-based programs are important from a financial standpoint. And then a lot of times these travel leagues, they have a lot of goals of trying to get players to the next level, which is great for those select players that do have that natural talent or that ability. But when you look at the probability of who's going to make it out of high school to college men's basketball and then on to the NBA, it's not a lot. And so it just reestablishes the importance of community-based programming. To further that, not only does it support that from a financial standpoint, but there is the Aspen Institute. They have this initiative called Project Play, and in 2024, a professor from our own backyard at Utah State University, in conjunction with a professor from Louisiana Tech, they did a survey, and this question, parents had to indicate in which setting does your child regularly participate in a primary sport. You can see that community-based was at 42%, compared to travel, elite, and club league sports at 17%. So again, it shows that there's a space for travel and club leagues, but the primary source that households look for their kids to participate is through community-based sports like recreation. And this slide just reminds us of the health impacts of why these programs are important and why we need to maintain more access so we can maintain that level of service. You can see that on a scale of 1 to 5, those that indicated that the mental, physical, emotional, and social health increased greatly was significant with those respondents, responding at a level 4 or 5 compared to the 1 or 2. So again, it just establishes the importance of, why we need to have space in order to maintain a level of access. This is just a comment from an article reporting how, rec leagues aren't dying, that they are thriving. And I'll just read that first one. This is from a director of sports and competitive events. Parents often spend money they don't have chasing dreams that are unlikely to happen. Recreational leagues give the children a chance to learn skills, build confidence, and enjoy the game without that extreme financial or social pressure. So again, you see that it's not just us here in Brigham City that echo the importance of recreational leagues. And this last slide just kind of shows, again, more data that over the last year, 6% of children ages 6 to 17 played a sport at least once. And that second bullet point, they're finding that in terms of the number of kids that tried a sport at least once, that's the highest on record being tracked by the Sports and Fitness Industry Association. So I think a lot of this stuff is things that you already know, but it's a good reminder to correlate and complement our own data here in Brigham City that shows that we need more space in order to maintain the healthy community that we want and that we can provide in terms of a level of service that we were able to provide when we had 900 hours of gym space compared to what we have when we have 300 hours of gym space. And so just a quick glimpse of what that might look like if we had our own space. So this is what September looked like in terms of the amount of hours that we got to use a community space from our requests. But if we had our own facility space that we had access to, this is what it could look like. Another snapshot would be looking at October. This is what it looked like with what our requests were granted. And if we had control of our own space, this is what it could look like. And then the last example will just be a snapshot of December. It shows, again, this is what our December was like with the requests that were granted to us. You can see on the 16th some doubling up of different things like I had mentioned earlier. But our own space, this is what it could look like. And so that's the story that's based on our own numbers, that we've had space and we've had a great level of service, but we're seeing a different level of service that we're able to offer with reduced space. And it's not a direction that I want to go as a Park and Rec director, and it's not, I don't think, the direction we want to be as a community as we continue to see growth within our own community. And Derek, I'll let you.
Before I start talking, any questions for Chris on what the last 20 years of using other folks' spaces look like for us, and any of the numbers that he showed? Comments?
I don't have any scientific data to bring to back this up, but I'm going to say that as we have become more siloed and non-participatory in our community and become more shut down, we've become angrier. I think you can see that on social media. And I'm not saying just because people aren't participating in sports, but it's got to be a contributing factor, the fact that we're not down at a gym watching each other, cheering each other on, or throwing elbows in Councilman Smith's case with somebody else, and having Dave Jeffries referee us and throw us out, and having that interaction because of the language that Tyler Pugsley would use on the court. But I think that type, what you just presented does add or take away from the feel, the composite, and the health of community, in my opinion. What Derek is going to present has been the mayor's dream that I mentioned and have mentioned in staff meeting, and the reality of what we were being faced as we knew it was coming 2-3 years from now, as more high school sports were being added to the schedule, and as different religious organizations disallowed the use of their facilities because of liability and risk. We knew the day was going to come that we would need something like this, and so we've been planning, we've been dreaming, we've been saving, and we're not going to talk about that tonight, other than the need and what in this discussion. So, what Derek's going to present is something we've been working on for several years now.
Is there any other questions?
I did ask a question weeks and weeks ago when this was coming, and asked for numbers, and I still have not seen it. It's nice to see the hours that you have. We all know that you have less gym space. Everybody here knows that. I more want to understand, for example, look at a Saturday with junior jazz that was done at the school right here. What does the attendance look like from the last 5 years? Because you didn't lose that gym space.
So
the attendance dropped just in the junior jazz program. I don't want to see graphs where I got pickleball and basketball and volleyball all mixed in, because that number is going to give me a skewed number, and I'm not interested. I'm probably the most experienced person when it comes to rec leagues on this council, because I used to do what you did years ago and ran a gym, and I've ref basketball for 20-some years and for this city. And I can tell you there's two parts to this. Gym space is an issue, okay? We all know that, okay? Especially what the school district has done. We all accept that. But there's also another question, and that is the quality of program. You want to say that, yeah, we are cheaper than the Bantam League. I got it. But there's two reasons why people are doing that. Yeah, there is that cost factor, but there's also the quality of program. I get more and more complaints of people who put their kids in those programs because the program isn't that good. And they're willing to spend a few more dollars if those kids who wear the red t-shirts were properly more trained and properly more, I would say, backed by more adults in the gym as far as backing them up. Because you got a 16-year-old kid running a second grade junior jazz program. It sounds all good and all, but it's people like DJ and Dave Hip who sit in the stands who yell and scream. That's the problem. It's not the kids, it's the adults. And so when that starts happening, these kids in the red shirts don't have a leadership quality in them yet, or why should they deal with it, right? So there's that big component. And I can tell you from personal experience and from people I know in the community who've taken their kids out of those programs the year after and went to just down the far west in Ogden and started playing down there because it was just better managed. It wasn't the cost, it was just better managed. So I'm all for putting a gym because I'm a sports guy. I mean, DJ and I go way back. I can tell you a story that when I came to Utah, we were coaching baseball. Do you remember the problem with I'm coaching Little League baseball here in first year. My boys are playing Little League. And I'm sitting there. We took the field first to play outfield. My kid's pitching the ball. Boom, walk. Kid gets on base because we suck. No problem. Next thing I know, my kid's looking at the catcher ready to throw the next pitch, and this kid starts running from first base to second base. Next thing I know, the kid's running from second to third base. I said, what is going on? He said, he's stealing. Isn't this Little League baseball? I said, I had to call the city and said, you need to look up the Little League rule. There is no stealing in Little League baseball until the ball crosses home plate. So basically it's a pass ball. If the catcher can't catch it, right? That's what I had to teach. They made the change of the rule because they looked it up. I shouldn't have to do that. But that was 20 years ago now. But that just gives you a point, kind of what I'm saying. The quality of program also needs to be looked at as well. So if we're going to invest into something like this, because we're not going to just sit here and talk about a gym. How the heck are you going to maintain it and pay for the operating costs for a gym? I know it. My soon-to-be ex-wife apparently is.
This is on public record.
Oh my gosh.
DJ told me. I'm always helping her to understand, and she's doing that right now. So again, this is my background. So there's a huge operating cost to run a gym.
Yep,
You
you're
already
right.
know that.
Tonight's
So,
about getting the facility, but yes, you're absolutely right.
Yeah,
Anyway, that's my soapbox. Sorry.
you got any comments, Chris, on that, or you want me?
Well, the one comment that I want to make sure that I didn't miss anything, you said that you had requested the numbers for the junior jazz for the last 5 years, or for a time, and you hadn't got any. Had you requested those from me?
It was the last time you presented.
Okay.
Yeah, well, we have them. They're mixed in there. My fault, didn't understand you wanted them parsed. We'll get it. We have it, yeah.
I think we just have to be, as an educated council, if we're going to pass something of this magnitude, we want to make sure we're basically answer to the citizens of the community. This is why. I can't just say it's because it allows gym space. It's like, well, just because you build it, you really think they're going to go? So it's like, we just got to be able to answer the question.
Yeah.
Yeah, we
other
combined all the indoor facilities into one. Obviously, we have indoor programs into one on that slide. We have each of those individually. Yeah, we can get the data in a future upcoming meeting. Obviously, the participation level for our outside sports, we have all of that, but by age group, by league, by program.
I think there's a movie about that last comment you made.
What's that?
If you build it, they will come. Isn't there a movie on that whole thing?
Never seen it.
That whole premise?
Kevin Costner?
I'm just wondering.
Now, the only other comment that I had, because I think you make a great point with the quality thing, that there is a level of balance of having, adult leadership or a level of maturity leadership in a gym to maintain and manage that environment. And, if you guys are supportive of us making sure that we have that, we have no problem with making sure that we, can, if we get that budgetary resource to be able to have more adults in, gyms, then we would definitely love to pursue that because there is, an advantage that comes with having an adult to take care of the rowdy crowd. And I can tell you, as officiated high school basketball for 17 years now, and have gone and done travel tournaments and stuff and officiate. And the officiating world is crazy because no matter where you go, you have some great ones and you have some sucky ones. And a lot of times, parents, they sign up thinking that they're going to get the best, and some weekends they get good refs, and some weekends you get those kids that aren't the greatest. But
Nowadays, you're getting kids out there who are out there walking up and down the courts, looking at their whistle like this, probably on their cell phone at the same darn time. And that's part of the argument, too. It's just that it's one thing to be there and be present, but are you really present?
right.
And that's kind of a coaching, but if there's you can train them all you want in one night and try to go through the rules. But on week 3, who's there watching and who's coaching them along week after day and week after
Right.
week? And that's kind of where it goes.
Yeah.
And I think you alluded to that when in your presentation you get the quality. Brigham City is known for the quality of our rec programs, 10, 15 years ago, with the expansive training that the refs, and I think consistency of being able to offer that employment and training to people, and since they've gone down, it's hard to find somebody that wants to get a job that works every other Saturday or something like that when they can get a better job. But if you can offer somebody with a more consistent sports-related training, you'll get better quality employees also. And I think that comes with the access to all these different sports. And that can go into, we used to, our Brigham City pool is known for like the best trained lifeguards for how long? Because we kept that consistent and we've kept that level. And I think that's what Brigham City will expect, and that's what you will be delivering.
Right.
That quality.
Yeah, I think the only thing I was just going to quickly add, for the council, and I guess in direct relation to Councilmember Jeffrey's comments, we agree 100% as staff with exactly what you're saying. Some of those things do come at an increased cost, and sometimes to employ a higher level of person, it costs more money. That price point is very important. I'll tell you, when I sat across the table from the gentleman that's in front of you tonight and interviewed him for his current role, one of the biggest things that he talked about when he came to Brigham City to be our Parks and Rec director was the quality of our programs and his plan to improve those over a period of time. So I think exactly what you're talking about, Councilmember Jeffries, is the gentleman sitting in front of us that we've recently hired is that is very high on his priority list. And it's ours as staff. I got a child participating in youth sports, and exactly what you're talking about, I coach him. Sometimes you go to the gym, you got a 13-year-old freshman in high school ref in the game. And you go to a different league that costs another $350 for those games to have an adult official that's high school certified. You kind of know what you're getting when you go into those things, but it costs, extra money. And that's, our youth programs, we're going to continue to do our best to provide the best level of service, price points we're trying to meet for our community. And we're going to try to improve all of those things. And we do agree with you 100%. We have room for improvement as a city. There's absolutely no question. So Any other questions on needs? We'll get that data. What has happened over the past few years specifically? By the way, on that one slide, you've seen a huge dip with hours in 2011. There was the demolition and construction of a leased facility in the community that has significantly affected our ability to run programs.
Middle school did that, yeah.
Yep.
And coming from somebody that, like you said, if you go there and that you don't see anything, you don't see what you need, and then you just don't end up going back. I mean, I think a lot that accounts for a lot of like the junior jazz participation, because, I mean, we didn't know when we could open it up, and people are used to going to the Brigham City site and seeing all this stuff, and then we've gone through such a transition. I mean, even I was like, I don't know when we're going to have junior jazz, and we did actually miss it for one of our kids, and so.
And do we ever have practice time available for our teams?
Yeah.
It's gotten bad.
Yeah, and so, so then we've had to opt for the more expensive leagues to keep him busy throughout the whole week.
All right.
Okay.
You want me to advance the slide?
Yeah, so before you do, just a couple quick comments from me. So first of all, our use of existing and brand new facilities in our corporate limits are something that we are going to continue to try to pursue and use of any available space that we have. So what you're going to see is not to replace, it's to augment the loss that we've had. I think the public's fully aware there's a new gym, the Boys and Girls Club. We are in negotiation with the Boys and Girls Club now for available space in that, not just to augment time for our existing programs, but our ability to expand as our community grows. The slide that Chris did with the participation percentage of our population, he dropped the number 21,000 and over that in 2030. If you ask DJ and Derek and what we're seeing development-wise, we think we're going to be at 27,000, 28,000 people in 2030. If you look at the growth that's coming into this city, so I'm not cussing Chris in his slide, he used the data that he had, but we are going to see a population growth in the next 5 years that this city hasn't seen for many, many years.
40.
So, 40 years.
1988, 17,000 people in Brigham City. 2026, 20,000 people. That's 40 years.
Yeah, so just one other comment. I'm humbled and excited to talk about, I've been in the city for 15 years. Our gym space, city-owned, is zero today. Reminding the city council, we did a general obligation bond, general ballot vote in 2015, 2016 to actually build some gym space in the corporate limits of the city. That bond fell 78 to 22. It included more than just gym space for our city, but obviously our public voted. They spoke, they didn't like the number, they didn't like what was going on. So as I talk about ideas as far as the facility, the space, and the budget, I'm humbled that we're in a situation as a city right now, through many years of prudence with having this in mind and seeing this, that there is a pathway forward to be able to build some gym space in the corporate limits of our city without a tax increase to our residents, without a general obligation bond. And it's not immaculate, it's not huge. It's a Brigham City building is what I would call it. It's a new core steel building. It's not CMU walls. It doesn't look like I probably shouldn't say that. It doesn't look like a recreation space in a huge city. But I'm excited that honestly that we've got the opportunity to kind of talk about that. So what I'm looking for specifically tonight, go ahead, Chris, is we got two different designs and layouts. So we're going to put in front of you, and two different engineers' estimates. What we're looking at as staff and through the mayor and his budget process is kind of get a little bit of feedback from the city council on, ideas as far as square footage and real estate and associated engineering costs and direction to move forward with, hey, do you like one design better than the other? And here's our estimated cost for that. And us having the ability as staff to actually start going and digging into the details with engineering and trying to actually build a specific budget that's got the specifics of everything in it. So really, real simple, 2 different designs. The one you see in front of you today is 2 full-size gyms and 6 cross-court gyms for our youth. Seating along the outside for our public. To the left side of the screen is the restroom facilities and HVAC for that, to service that facility. Obviously, our plan of staff, maybe just specific on location, would be to attach it to the existing recreation office administrative building at Pioneer Park, directly to the south of that facility. This would be attached to that facility with additional parking and space available for the public to use. So in the orientation, as you see it on the screen, to the left is south, right is north, correct? That's right.
To the left is north. Is that?
Yeah, sorry, I went backwards. The left is the existing recreation facility. Yeah, so the right is north in the orientation. So the engineer's estimates on what you see in front of you there is $12 million. And then, go ahead, Chris, the next one is a little bit smaller, but still has the 2 full-size gyms with 4 cross-court, smaller basketball gyms. And obviously, the striping that you're seeing here in front of you is just basketball. These things are going to be striped for pickleball, volleyball, everything, all of the sports that Chris went through the slides and talked about. And the engineer's estimates for the facility right here are $9 million. So, obviously, engineer's estimates, these are not bids. These have not been engineered up to this point in time. An engineer did draw the footprint for us, but obviously we'd have to go through the official process with the company to get those engineered and actually get a project out to bid so we could get the actual budget number back and publicly discuss it. But we don't want to spend a ton of time on detail on the interior or anything like that. Really what we're talking about here is the need and growth for our community, the council's thoughts on that. If we're going to build a building, and obviously both of these facilities would have the ability to be built onto later down the road. They'd be designed in a way that wouldn't prohibit the additional space, gym space, to the south of the new facility. But yeah, 2 rough engineers' estimates, $9 million for one, 12 for the other. And like I said, there is a path forward with both of those numbers that would not include a property tax increase to get those, or a bond to get those accomplished.
So you're saying we're not going to see an increase of the budget this coming months?
Yeah, so operation and maintenance, that's a specific question.
Well, you're just saying this won't affect the budget.
No, I've not said it wouldn't affect the budget. I have publicly said that it would not require a general obligation bond be issued to make the payment, and it would not require a property tax increase specifically to build this facility. So yes, there would, if the facility is built, number one, the facility itself would be in the budget, which would be, a dollar amount more than, I can't say, is it going to be an increase? Well, probably not. There's a $33 million project that's currently in the budget on the bridge being built over the top of the railroad track. So budget overall, the mayor's going to present that to you in May.
Well, my point is, regardless of what you're telling us, it's like once the budget comes out, once DJ presents the budget, and if there's a tax increase in there, and this is in their budget, people will just assume they're not going to know. It's all part of the budget. So.
Yeah, so when we do property tax increases for 7 of the last 8 consecutive years, we tell the public exactly why there's a property tax increase. There will not be a property tax increase to build a recreation facility. A year ago, the property tax increase was specifically for the insurance for our city employees because of utilization rates. The year before that, we put an extra $100,000 in the budget to do sidewalks. So yeah, this would not require a specific property tax increase.
Yeah, I get that part, Derek, but that's not what we get outside this office. It's because they'll look at, well, if you're not getting if you're saying this isn't tied to the budget increase, but then you raise the budget and the property taxes, say 5% to cover X, Y, and Z, they'll say, well, don't do the gym, you'll save money there, and then take care of these other projects, and you're done. So that's what the people don't understand, and that's what we have to continually to educate and teach. So it's easy to say it's not attached, but at the end of the day, it's kind of like semantics, so it is.
When I'll publicly say, and I have many times as a finance director, and now I've been the city administrator for the city, Brigham City is not going to do a property tax increase for a one-time expenditure of a capital facility. Property tax increases in the city are for ongoing expenditures for years and years to come, and we've proven that over 7 of the last 8 years that we've done a property tax increase for the city. So yeah,
Okay, so the operating costs will be in there.
yeah, you're going to have additional operating costs. You're going to have a decrease in lease costs. How those net, undetermined. That's what we're looking for, is the direction from the council to move forward with, getting into those very specific details and being able to bring all of that with actual bid numbers back to the council through our budget process this year. Obviously it's going to take us time. It's not going to be dialed in by the time the mayor makes his budget presentation publicly in 3 weeks from now.
And this is an addition onto our current recreation offices. Yeah.
Yeah.
So, and it won't require us to demolish anything on the back of that wall because that was built to aid in an addition, something like this.
Yeah, so right in the very dead center of our recreation administrative office that we built, man, it's been 7-8 years ago probably now. It's built with a hallway that would open up into this facility.
Which is a good thing, and it cuts down on costs because it wouldn't require additional office spaces for employees to actually manage this property because it's attached to our current one. So that would cut down on a lot of costs. My opinion is because of the increase in operating costs, I like being conservative with the smaller gym because we want to actually put some of that money into your increased quality of services. And so to me, that's a little bit safer.
Those are just, I'm going to reiterate, ongoing costs versus one-time money to build. So that, we normally have never funded ongoing costs in this city with one-time cash on hand or fund balance. So that, although I understand your point, like we've got to figure out, we as a staff, as we bring things to the council, so increased quality, additional money maybe for better referees. Those are ongoing things that have got to be taken care of through our rates, not with $500,000 of fund balance that's spread over 6 years. So, I would just make a counter argument that we've got to take care of that through rates.
I'm talking about that, also that, and, you always have to kind of pad because you never know what's going to happen with the costs differences if something happens. I mean, that space right there, we feel like it's good to build on here, but you just never know what weird thing you're going to get into. If that whole hill's going to just landslide down on you.
It's not.
And 6th West is going to landslide down on you.
Any other thoughts?
Yeah,
I got a question and I don't know if there's a precedent for a combination. I know we're doing some things with the Boys and Girls Club. Is there a precedent for a collaborative between private sector? If there's such a need and there's a strong, that might be a marketplace driven thing. I don't know. I'm not, to your point, I'm the least knowledgeable on these
So
kinds of things.
I will, to your point, the answer is no, and I'll tell, and the reason why. These are not money makers, they're a revenue drain. They don't make money, they lose money, but that's not why you do it. You do it to provide the service for the community, to give the kids a place to play and provide that need. They drain your budget because between insurance costs, operating costs, yeah, they do not generate a dollar. And people have tried to do this on the private sector. Arizona's got a big one going through bankruptcy, and even Ogden did it, tried it. The guy down there tried it, and now that gym turned into a college bookstore thing. So people have tried it. They just don't make cash enough to keep it going.
And so that's where government steps in, where private sector can't do it, but there's a need. Police, fire, those kinds of things is just not practical, so, but it may be a need. And that's the question I was asking. Thanks, that's
I mean,
helpful.
that's a great question, and I think Dave's point is valid too. What does your community want? There's communities, we're surrounded by communities that either aren't able to afford, or that's not what their community wants is rec, or perhaps they don't need to because Brigham City has one. I don't know. But Brigham City, we have this, and this is what we want for our community, and so that's why it's before us.
And would it be utilized by, like many of our recreation facilities would be utilized throughout the county would be utilizing it as well? On a different maybe pay scale or something, but the county
Yeah,
might
I would,
participate?
at least in my professional opinion, it would be, hey, if we're not going to use it and there's other parties that are interested in using it, why not rent out the space on a night that, we don't have it?
So with that in mind, is there potential for a collaborative between county and city to be partners in a development, something to discuss? Is that something we've seen? Is it realistic?
And maybe publicly, the only thing for me to say, and, I'm going to get quoted in the newspaper when I say this, I realize that, but the current mayor and city administrator for Brigham City has not approached county commissioners about a discussion about this specifically. I will tell you that me and a previous mayor and a city administrator have approached previous commissions and had that conversation, and they were not in a place financially to be able to participate and support. But yeah, it absolutely is something that with direction from the council that the mayor and I could do.
Thanks, Derek. I ask it one time, partially just for practicality, is that a possibility? But also for citizens to understand that we are reaching out for other alternatives to try and reduce costs to meet needs, but also keeping in mind fiscal responsibility.
Yeah, and I think to that point, Dave, and I'm not going to publicly disclose any partners, but the city staff, along with the mayor, has been reaching out to a few of our local businesses and entities for potential public support, and those conversations are ongoing.
Okay, thanks. Appreciate
But
it.
to
Dave.
Well, to answer to part of that, what you said, if you recall, it was a few months ago, I presented a project here to team up with the Boys and Girls Club to help build a third gym, and it went nowhere. So I presented it, and it went nowhere. Yeah, it was one gym that the Boys and Girls Club did not need. They don't need another gym. They're fine with what was built. But there was that opportunity to build another gym at a very reduced cost. And it did not happen, and that's unfortunate. But to your point, you do find a lot of cities that, I wouldn't say it's county they work with, but it is other groups like a Boys and Girls Club or YMCA's or even the school district. Sometimes we'll join forces and build a gym to benefit all groups. The problem with that, the only counter problem is kind of what you're facing is like the city needs to taxes their programming. So when you share it, then it becomes a little bit of like, well, I need it now, it's my turn and whatever. So that's a tough one. So
And who owns it?
Well, you just have to find that common ground that works for everybody.
Okay, going back to when the bond was presented years ago, and it lost pretty handily. So obviously our needs have changed as opposed to back then, because we have lost more of the schools, right? What about the public's desire? Have we done any outreach on something like that to see if people want more gym space?
Yeah, no, the city has not sent any surveys out on this subject. I think my answer to your desire question, Chris, can jump back to our participation level.
Right.
We can absolutely do a survey if the council wants us to do a survey. What I can say is we are serving less children and adults in our community than we were 9 years ago by a large number. So, is some of that
But it's because of the space, not necessarily because people don't want to.
Yeah, there's the it's the
It's a-
space,
it's
but
a
I mean,
facility issue.
we've, it's not that only, 3% have asked to participate in sports. That's all that we had the space for. So there were
Right.
people that have been turned away for programs. So I would
Because
say,
it's a space issue, not because,
Yeah, we've cut a minimum of 4 programs from 2017 till today, because of space. We just do not have the gym space to do it anymore.
And I think if you talk to a lot of the people that, it was more about the bond and the increase in the taxes.
yeah,
Not
the
necessarily
cost,
the
yeah,
desire
for
or
sure.
need necessarily.
Yeah, everybody wants one, but they didn't want
Yeah.
to pay for it.
Yeah.
well, I think the offering is significantly different as
Yeah.
far as construction and
That's
the
what it sounds
scope
like.
as well.
Yeah, what was presented back then was like the Taj Mahal of all
Right.
gyms, and it was,
And
it was
people
about,
need to
it was
know
bigger
that.
than the fire station. I mean,
Yeah.
it was gonna be the biggest gym project probably in the state, and obviously it backfired.
Yeah, and people need to know that as we go, if this goes forward, they definitely need to understand this is.
Well, I think it's just to bring to remembrance for at least 2 city council members here. I remember having a budget discussion over $70,000 for radios, and we had a citizen not want to pay for radios, but out in the hallway with 2 of our city councilmen, he said he'd pay all day for a new rec center, but not $70,000 worth
Right.
of police radios. So it's an interesting little dynamic.
And we also need to, this isn't going to diminish any of the other programs or services. We're not trying to take it from the library or the Kennedy Center or the golf course or anything like that. It's something that we've thought ahead of time. So sell me on the cost effectiveness of the 6 gym space compared to this 4 gym space.
Yeah, I think for me is, and the rest of the staff, we discuss it with the mayor. This city's going to grow in population, and the ROI on an estimated 3 million. I know I'll get quoted saying that, but all of this is an estimation until we, get the engineering done and actually bid this project. But the ROI on that additional space and the participation level with that additional space in 2026 dollars versus, let's say, in 2032, I'm back in front of you saying we need to add another gym. It's spending, what I would consider in an overall project like this, those dollars now, realizing the city's going to grow in population. We've got right now the city council through entitlements, we have almost 3,200 residential dwellings that have been approved right now in the city. That is a large population growth that the city's going to experience. So that would be my argument is look at the bigger facility that's going to provide a longer term benefit to our population and our growth. I'm telling you that I can figure out how to take care of that financially. I might, until we get that done and designed, we don't know for sure, but it's that population growth that we're going to experience in Brigham that we feel like the bigger facility is a need.
Yeah, but if you own the gym, as opposed to renting with the school district, you have access to this 7 days a week. So to your point, I'm kind of with Robin. Looking at this, looking at the other one, I don't see much of a difference. 2 courts. If you want to go back to the other one, again, this is a basketball referee. I don't like this at all. Okay? I can't, it just makes me vomit looking at it. Because your courts are too close. The 6 courts are just too butt up next to each other. Okay? That one, I can manage. Okay? And I think this, where you have the seating on the sides of the court, that's a win-win, I think, for the spectators, the parents, and so on. This, to me, is a better concept, a better design. It's not, I would look at it the dollar-wise. This is, as a basketball guy, this makes more sense to me. That's just me.
As a basketball guy, I don't disagree. So.
With the
it's-
spaces in between.
Yeah,
the
those middle courts, the smaller youth courts that,
Yeah.
For our youth programs, they're going to work. They're not the greatest experience. I agree with Councilmember Jeffries.
Like the Condi, is it Condi gyms in Farmington?
Condo in Farmington,
Condo?
yeah.
Yeah, and they're just like that.
Yep.
And
Well,
the
so is the
noise-
middle school.
The noise
just
is
drop down there.
outrageous.
But you still got 2 full courts. That's
Yeah.
the added bonus. You still
The
got-
other design, the other one, Chris, you jump back, that one's more similar to, it's South Ogden Junior High School.
Yeah.
It's just about 8 times bigger than that because there's that many more in there, but, those, you'd have drop-down screens in between those 2 courts and your spectators are on the 2 ends, exactly like this is laid out. There is no spectators in the middle. That's where you put the team benches, is down those middles, right up next to that drop-down curtain.
Well, and this is concept too.
Yeah.
So there, even
Yep.
in that bigger
It's a-
court, Dave, there's some finessing that needs to happen there. There could probably be some space.
The biggest
Freed up.
difference is just the total amount of square footage.
And
right?
service.
So, this is significantly less square footage inside the facility, and that's your cost. But we did want to lay the basketball courts out to see, show that this is, for that amount of square footage, that's what would fit and the difference between the 2. Obviously, one's narrower and longer, and the other one's
Square.
more square. Yep.
The other one, you have spectators.
I don't like that one at all.
Sorry.
Do you have a spectator for the 2 youth center courts?
We didn't draw it on there, but on the right side of that screen, you could do seating on that entire wall.
Okay.
So you would have your spectators at both ends in this design, but, great feedback. Can you drop screens down and create that 5-6 space and 5 or 6 feet of space in between the 2? It's tight. Then you've got a
And then
drop
are we
down
having
screen on
restroom
both sides.
facilities just at the front?
Yeah, that's what's kind of in the red right there, yeah. I mean, great point. We can finesse this design into something that works better for a basketball court. We didn't spend a ton of time and money on this design, so it's really about the real estate of those additional 2 courts in this design for the
And do
youth
you really need the
programs.
indoor running track?
Just, that's just,
No one runs it anymore?
that's just drawn there, yeah.
Just for looking at?
This is a single story facility. This is not a 2-story that you see in a lot of recreation spaces with an upstairs running track around. That is not what this is.
So at one time you talked about Newcourt coming in and helping because there was something,
Yeah, so.
Yeah, we're,
Great question.
maybe not this,
This
might
is
not be
just
the
about
place.
what we're going to be engaging people with.
yeah, we're going to talk to some community partners and we'll continue to work on that.
And that would help bring the cost down.
Could, yes, significantly, yep.
And Big Point, this is property we already own.
Okay, hold on. No, it would not bring the cost down, but it may bring the investment of the city's part. The building's not getting.
That's what I meant.
Okay,
That's what I meant.
I just wanted to make sure that,
I know the cost doesn't change, but I know the
Yeah.
investment from the city changed.
okay.
Yep.
Can I just make a comment on one thing? Obviously, as we look at the city growing in the long years, and we get more into details in a future conversation, one idea to think about with, the idea of 4 small courts versus 6, sometimes some rec centers have had issues where they get built and then it's programmed so full that there's no drop-in use. And when you do have more smaller courts for additional use, it does lend that opportunity that when you don't have as many games being programmed in one night, that it does open up for the public to come in on a casual basis, a dad, a mom, and kid, and just shoot around, even while you have leagues going. So that is one perspective. Again, that's something that we could talk about in details when we get further down, but that is one philosophy of
Is that worth
thinking.
$4 million?
Depends on quality of life.
Just saying.
If our population goes to 30,000, yes. In 2026 dollars, absolutely.
Well, I understand. I used to run a gym, and yeah, you might only have, you got 6 courts, you only use it for one night. I got basically 2 courts, 4 half courts. I can run 4 practices at the same time. I got it. I was just being facetious.
Yeah, and I think the other thing, we're running 4. This is striped basketball. Don't forget that's going to be striped everything else. We're playing on 4 youth courts, and then the 2 other ones, you've got 8 courts of pickleball going at the exact same time, or 4, I guess would be the right number. But yeah, I mean that additional real estate is. But don't get stuck on basketball is what I'm trying to say.
Get out of my kitchen.
Because I do myself, I promise. Just ask my kids.
We don't want pickleball to take over.
What about parking in that location? Because the pickleball is usually really full. I mean, are we assuming?
Yeah, there would be a new parking lot on the west side of this facility that would tie into the Watkins parking lot. So pickleball parking lot to Watkins with some sort of road in between the two that would tie those two together. We do have a master site plan.
Watkins or the east parking lot of Pioneer?
Did I say Watkins? I meant Wadman Court.
Okay.
Tyler's, I could hear him back there trying to correct me.
He's got that.
Thank you. Good job, Robin. But yes, the Wadman Court parking lot to the pickleball court parking lot, those would be tied together with the parking lot on the west side of the new facility.
But you could walk from Watkins over.
And we're going to do everything in our power to keep the, we call it the Pony League field that's currently there in place. Obviously, that far east youth baseball field is, it is still being used at times, but it wouldn't be able to be used any longer.
So what is the estimate operating cost?
We're going to get, design size affects that significantly, just frankly, with the cost of heat and power. So, how we decide to move forward with size is going to affect that number significantly each year. These are big open spaces that have to be heated and cooled. And, maybe not cooled all of the time, but cooled at certain points of time. So, we're spending anywhere from $25,000 to $35,000 a year right now as a city renting space. So that's going to be offset by, potentially some rentals with others. But, I don't want to publicly say that because the design is significantly affects how you design the facility with, lighting, HVAC, all those things are subject to budget. So, if we move down the road, we will bring those costs. And obviously the council's not saying, go build this building tonight. They're saying, hey, we're comfortable with this, go get the engineering and bring all of that data back for us to make an educated decision in the future. I'd guess,
You could do a good job selling you the 6 courts. That's my vote.
I think if you're going to, obviously, I would say if you're going to look at this, we do need to know what the operating costs are going to look like because that's going to impact the budget more than anything. It's one thing to say, okay, we found $20 million to build it or whatever that dollar amount's going to be. But and I say if you're going to do it, estimate the operating costs on the bigger gym, right?
Yes.
That way you're going to scale down.
Yep.
But you need to really understand the impact of insurance to operations, to the equipment, Are you gonna hire more staff to manage this place? I mean,
No, is the answer to that. I can tell you that right now. There will not be additional employees.
so,
Chris has got it covered.
sorry, buddy. That's all you have. Do you live here now? You might wanna live by, the park if you're gonna do this.
Yeah, we'll bring those specific details back in future conversation. Here are things that we need to bring back with, as part of that, the council is thinking about.
Are we gravitating towards the 6? I'm making an assumption, but I'm trying to move this conversation along.
I like the 4, but there's just that gap between the courts. Having had kids a long time ago play ball, I like the 4. So I also like the fact that was one thing that infuriated me when my kids were growing up and being here in Brigham City is there was never anywhere to go play basketball. If you didn't have keys to a church, you didn't do it. So, and that was very frustrating when my kids were younger. I'm out of that stage, but I still think that that's
You don't have to be out of that stage.
important for people
See his Achilles?
to be able to do that. I can run and jump faster now. So, yeah, I mean, I like the 4 small courts versus the 6. Just the elbow room. Wouldn't feel so crowded. So, but I understand the growth part of it too. Like, there's 30,000 people, you have more. But so that's where I was going.
That's good feedback. We've crammed them here baseline to baseline. I think if you're gravitating more towards the future of having the 6 courts, then we can, in the design process, finesse that so there's space in between the courts. And
I think you need to look at it. Say you take this big gym space and you knock it down to, 4 courts. How does that impact your other sports besides doing it? So to your point, yeah, don't look at just basketball. Because if you could put 3 volleyball courts into this gym, but only 2 in the other one, that's something that we'll need to know. So when you do your measurements, you probably want to make sure you line all those out. So, yeah, because we're just looking at it from a basketball perspective. But I see this, I can look at it based on experience and say, okay, I can put 3 volleyball, I could probably maybe squeeze 3 volleyball courts. It'd be tight. 2 definitely, but the other one definitely not. Because this one seems longer.
Yep.
So,
There is that thing where, when you have less courts, you can only do so many games. And so when you're doing a league and you're like having 9 PM games with a 10-year-old,
It's fun, isn't
It's
it,
hard.
Robin?
and you don't know, one week it's at 5 o'clock and the next week it's at 9 o'clock. And having more courts available kind of puts that in a better time frame.
that's true.
Yeah, maybe just a quick question, if I could get maybe a little bit of feedback on that. If the council's comfortable with the 12 million number, we can do a lot more detail and research on this and bring that back with all the specifics. If we're only comfortable with that 9 million estimate, then I think that's the direction. We need a staff, and we're going to live in that area, and we'll get something back to you with all those specific details. So really, I think that's the question, is are we comfortable with that additional real estate for future growth of the city? And we'll bring, all of these details back in a future plan. If we feel like we need to parse that down and work on other projects in the city, that with those dollars, then we're comfortable with that as well.
yeah, like asking the question doesn't have a lot of answers in it. I mean, it's easy for me to sit up here and say, yeah, go after the 12 million, but there's too many. I can tell you, there's a
Variables.
big difference in operating costs from when you just knock a gym down 200 square feet. That's hundreds and hundreds of dollars a month in savings.
It's a
So,
big number.
It's a big
Agreed.
number and adds up quick. Every 3 years, you're going to have to resurface this court.
Yep.
Big difference between doing a smaller court to bigger court. So I mean, so when you're talking, between 9 and 12, okay, yeah, there's that difference, but then the operations of it is significantly different as months and years go on, so.
I don't think there's a huge difference between designing and engineering two different size facilities, and I think honestly, that's kind of me, what I'm hearing from the council is bring me two options, and I'm 100% comfortable with that if you are mayor, and that's what we'll do.
Okay.
So, is the council comfortable with spending a little bit of money though on getting the engineering and actually getting this thing done? That's really the question. That'll all reside within existing budgets, not a budget amendment. We're going to be able to take care of that, but are we comfortable moving forward with the details and getting the engineering and actually getting this thing out, to the point where we would be able to bid it and making those final decisions?
When did you want to start this project?
We would love to start it in this summer, honestly, and it's going to take us,
But if it doesn't, it doesn't.
yeah. Yeah, I mean, obviously as staff, you're seeing those numbers of participation drop and we're immediately trying to move and we've got a path to fix those, but it's going to take a year to build this, right? So is an extra month or two in decision making a big deal? No, not at all. So
Well, that's why I'm thinking in my head, because if you really think we can build this and be ready for December basketball season?
No way.
Absolutely not.
no,
Now, if we push it to spring, that's even a stretch. In the summer, next year, not much gonna happen in the gym. So I'm not in a complete hurry, but, because this timing wise, I just don't see that happening. I could see a year and a half from now.
yep, we
So
agree.
not this December, but the following one. That's when you want to make sure you're operating, the fall of the.
Of 27, yep.
I'm just.
We're, okay, sounds like we're comfortable. We're gonna get two designs, we're gonna get some engineering done, and we're gonna get a lot tied down operating costs for the two facilities. And, the specifics, there's still gonna be engineers' estimates on construction, obviously, until you physically go bid the project, but we'll go to work and get something back to you in a few months. So,
Okay.
that's it, Mayor.
Thank you.